Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, going to be talking through a couple player props I like on Prizepicks for the Week 4 Monday Night Football slate. We got Week 4 closing out on Monday night with a doubleheader. So we got two games on Monday night. We got Jets and Dolphins, and then we have Broncos and Bengals. So a little two-game slate. Going to talk through a couple player props I like for these two games. We are going to give out two plays, and we're going to give out a play from each game. So we'll break down these plays. We'll share why I like them. But before we do get started, guys, make sure that you hit that like button down below. If you enjoy these Prizepicks videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well. And if you guys are new to the channel and if you are new to Prizepicks, if you don't have a Prizepicks account, make sure that you go sign up. Use that promo code NOAH. When you do sign up for Prizepicks with my promo code and play $5, you're going to get $50 in free lineups just for signing up and using code NOAH. So definitely go check out Prizepicks if you guys don't have an account over there. And then I do also want to shout out a new partner. We recently have partnered up with Better. So if you guys have never heard of Better, they're a kind of up-and-coming DFS pick'em app. They're similar to Prizepicks. They're similar to a lot of the other DFS pick'em apps that you've seen around the industry. You guys may have seen like ads for Better on TV, on TikTok, stuff like that. But we partnered up with Better. Better is going to give you guys a free $10 just for signing up and using code NOAH. So just for signing up using code NOAH, you get $10. So you don't even have to put in any money. You can use the $10 they give you and try and win some money off the free $10 they give you. But then if you do make a deposit, Better is going to give you up to a $200 deposit bonus, and that deposit bonus is 50%. So if you deposit $100, you get an additional $50. If you deposit $200, you get an additional $100. The bonus goes up to $200 though. So if you deposit $400, you would get an additional $200. But they are going to give you a free $10 just for signing up and using code NOAH. And then you're also going to get a deposit match, 50% up to $200. So if you guys want to check out Better, I recommend doing so. Download their app. Use that code NOAH when you do sign up. Better is a DFS pick'em app. They're very similar to Prizepicks. They have player props from all different sports. They do a lot of the markets that I like to target, like a lot of the niche markets like targets for NFL, fantasy score. Better does offer those lines. So a lot of the times the plays I give out in these videos you can take on Better. And also Better recently launched their social sports book. So if you are in a state that doesn't have legal sports betting, there's a very good chance that you'll be able to use the Better social sports book, which is kind of an alternative to your traditional sports betting. It's basically just like sports betting, except it's a little bit different with how they are able to legally do it. But it's a legal sports book in your state. I live in a state where sports betting is not legal, and I've been able to use the Better sports book and make sports bets that way. So check them out, guys. Download the Better app, and again, make sure to use that code NOAH if you don't have an account over there. But let's talk about some Prizepicks plays that I like for these two games on Monday night. Now, I do want to recap our plays from our last video for Sunday. We gave out 3 picks on Sunday. Went 2-1. One of the plays that we gave out got taken off the board shortly after I posted the video. And the play that I gave out was kind of like an error line. Like it was a line that probably shouldn't have been up on Prizepicks. And Prizepicks actually voided that prop. I played it in a bunch of entries because I knew it was a play that had really good value. I gave it out on my Patreon, and of course they voided the prop. Super annoying, but obviously the books can do that anytime they post a line by mistake or it's an error. Legally, they are able to void the lines, which kind of sucks, but they took that prop off the board. They voided it anyway, so it didn't really matter. So really, we only gave out 2 plays for Sunday. Went 1-1. We hit on Drake London over 5.5 receptions, but missed on Christian Kirk over 5.5 targets. Not a great Sunday, but let's try and get back at it here for this Monday night slate. 2 games Monday night. Let's talk about the 2 plays I'm liking. So we're going to be taking a look at a couple fantasy score props that I'm liking in these 2 games. In the first game, Jets and Dolphins, the prop that I like here is Justin Fields more than 17 fantasy score. This is a line that I really like on Justin Fields. Now, Justin Fields was out last week, so didn't play last week against Tampa Bay. Was great in his debut with the Jets. Had 29.5 fantasy points against the Steelers. In that game, I believe he threw for like 200-something yards. 218 yards, had a passing touchdown. Also had 12 carries for 48 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Looked great against Pittsburgh and then really struggled against Buffalo, but that was a really tough spot. I mean, Buffalo's a good defense. They're overall a tough matchup. In that game against Buffalo, Justin Fields only threw for 27 yards and then he ran for 49 yards. I like this as a really good bounce back spot, though, for Justin Fields going up against the Dolphins. So far this season, the Dolphins have been one of the better matchups for opposing quarterbacks. The Dolphins are giving up the second most fantasy points to quarterbacks to start the season. And if you look at what they've allowed to quarterbacks so far, week 1, Daniel Jones went off against the Dolphins, had 29.5 fantasy points. And then in week 2, Drake May, great game against the Dolphins, 26.3 fantasy points. And then week 3 against Buffalo, Josh Allen also had a great game, 23 fantasy points. So the Dolphins have just been getting killed defensively this year. Coming into the season, the Dolphins were expected to be one of the worst defensive teams, and it's kind of been that way so far. So this sets up as a really good matchup for Justin Fields. And Justin Fields is a quarterback that offers a lot of upside for fantasy, because when you talk about fantasy football, how points are calculated, especially for quarterbacks, it's very valuable when you can get quarterbacks that can not only get you points as a passer, but also as a runner. And Justin Fields is one of the more mobile quarterbacks in the league. He is a guy that will run a lot. His rush yards prop, I think for Monday night, is set at like almost 50 yards. So, I mean, the sportsbooks, they're expecting Justin Fields to be running a lot here. He's got a 47.5 rush yards prop. You know, if he throws for, let's say, if he throws for 175 yards, that would be 7 fantasy points, and that's under his projection. His projection is 184.5, but let's just say he throws for 175. That would be 7 fantasy points. Let's say he runs for 45. That would be an additional 4.5 fantasy points. So that's 11.5 fantasy points right there that he's basically projected for just from yards, 11 to 12 fantasy points. And then you have to factor in touchdowns. Fields is heavily favored to throw 1 touchdown here. If he throws 1 touchdown, that's an additional 4 points. And then there's definitely a chance he could throw 2 touchdowns. There's a chance that he could get you a rushing touchdown, especially because they use him a lot as a runner, you know, in the red zone and near the goal line. So he just has a lot of ways where he can get us 17 fantasy points here. It's a great matchup. Miami's been one of the best matchups for opposing quarterbacks so far. Fields, when he has started, he has shown to be a good fantasy quarterback, especially because of his mobility, because of his, you know, his ability to run and to be able to throw as well. Do like the spot a lot for Justin Fields, taking him for more than 17 fantasy score. And I know some of you guys that watch these videos may not play on Prizepicks or Better or Sleeper, some of the other DFS apps, so you might not have access to fantasy score. If you're looking for an alternative prop to fantasy score, I do like Justin Fields over 235.5 pass plus rush yards. I definitely like fantasy score more because obviously Fields can get touchdowns, which for fantasy score, those are really valuable. There's definitely a chance that Fields doesn't go over this pass plus rush yards line, but he still goes over his fantasy score line, especially if he throws like 2 touchdowns or if maybe he has 1 passing touchdown, 1 rushing touchdown. But if he goes over this pass plus rush yards line, pretty likely to go over fantasy score as well. But if you have the options, if you have the choice, I would definitely take fantasy score first. But I know some of you guys that play on sportsbooks, maybe you don't have access to fantasy score props. So if you're looking for an alternative, I do like Justin Fields for more than 235.5 pass plus rush yards. And then the next play that I like is going to be in the other game, the Broncos and Bengals game. And we're going to take a look at Chase Brown. 12.5 fantasy points for Chase Brown. Also like the over here, more than 12.5 fantasy score on Chase Brown. And let's talk through why I like this prop. So if you look at what Chase Brown has done this season, it's been kind of tough for him. You know, week 1 against the Browns, he did have a decent game in that game, or decent game in that matchup. 13.1 fantasy points. Had a really good role in terms of volume in that game against Cleveland. 21 carries for 43 yards, was not very efficient, but good to see 21 carries. Also had 3 targets. And then the last 2 weeks for Chase Brown, it's been really bad, but the volume has still been really good. In the game against Jacksonville, he did go under this line, obviously, but he had 16 carries and also had 3 targets. So he had 19 opportunities. And then last week against Minnesota, only had 10 carries and 5 targets, but that was a blowout loss. The Bengals lost that game by 38 points. It was a big time loss for them, a blowout loss. And if you look at the snaps in that game, Chase Brown did get his snaps pulled, especially late in the game because they were just losing by so much. Chase Brown typically plays like 70 to 80% of the snaps, but last week he only played 55% of the snaps, and that was just because it was a blowout. They took him out of the game early. Obviously, the matchup against Minnesota was not that good either. You look at this matchup against Denver, it looks like a tough spot on paper because Denver, historically they've been a pretty good defensive team. They've been a team, typically they've had a strong defense just over the past few seasons. So far this season, Denver's, vulnerability has definitely been against the run. We've seen them struggle so far this year against the run. If you look at what they've allowed to opposing running backs, they're top 10 in rush yards allowed to running backs, and they're top 10 in fantasy points allowed to running backs. So this is a Broncos team that has given up a lot of production to opposing running backs. They've also giving up a lot of receiving yards to opposing running backs. Top 10 in receiving yards allowed to running backs. And Chase Brown, one thing that's good about Chase Brown is that he can get you points as a runner, and as a pass catcher, because they will use him in the passing game. So far this season, in his 3 games, with Cincinnati, 3 targets, and 5 targets. And now with Jake Browning starting at quarterback, instead of Joe Burrow, obviously that's a massive downgrade. But I think Jake Browning is more likely to check it down to the running back. So that should be a good thing for Chase Brown. Like if Jake Browning's going to be checking it down to the running back, that's going to be an easy way for Chase Brown to get points, because on Prizepicks you get a full point per reception. If we can get like 3-4 receptions from Chase Brown to go along with the yards he'll get most likely, and then potentially the touchdowns as well. Like if they get near the goal line in the red zone, you don't expect anyone to take the goal line carries away from Chase Brown. Like Chase Brown should get all the carries near the goal line. He's pretty unlikely to get vultured. They're just really not using any other running backs. Samaje Perine's been used a little bit, just kind of sparingly here and there. They do have Taj Brooks as well, but like Taj Brooks, last week was the first time he's gotten any playing time this season. It's basically just been Chase Brown and Samaje Perine getting the work at running back, and it's by far been Chase Brown, the guy getting a majority of the volume. I think he projects to get like 17 to 20 touches here. Obviously, the efficiency has been really bad for Chase Brown, but I think Denver's a team you can run on. They've been vulnerable against the run so far this season. Love betting on the volume here. Eventually, Chase Brown, when he's getting like 20 touches a game, like he's eventually going to have a good game. He's not going to continue to be as bad as he's been with the volume that he's getting. So I do like the spot for Chase Brown to kind of bounce back, like him for more than 12.5 fantasy score. And if you're looking for an alternative prop to fantasy score, one of the props that I do like on Chase Brown is his rush attempts, more than 15.5 rush attempts. We've talked about how good the volume is for Chase Brown. As you can see, he has gone over this line in 2 of his 3 games this year. Obviously went under last week, but that was a blowout loss. They were playing from behind. It's really hard to look at what happened last week. But he's gone over in 2 out of 3 games this year. I think if this game remains remotely competitive, there's a very good chance Chase Brown gets 16 rush attempts. And with Jake Browning at quarterback, I'm sure Cincinnati probably wants to lean a little bit more on their run game than their pass game. I do potentially worry about them getting behind, playing on the road. Or I think they're playing on the road in Denver. A little bit worried that they maybe get behind, and that could hurt Chase Brown's potential for rush attempts. But right now, the spread in this game is only a 7-point spread, so it's not like a super wide spread. But I do like Chase Brown for more than 15.5 rush attempts. You could also look at his rush yards as well at 53.5. That's another play that I think looks pretty good. Honestly, both those props, 15.5 rush attempts, 53.5 rush yards. I think those are fine alternatives if you can't take fantasy score. But because Chase Brown can catch passes, with fantasy score you get a point per reception. I like betting on fantasy score the most for Chase Brown, and the potential for touchdowns as well. He gets all the goal line work. There's obviously a chance he could score a touchdown if they get in the red zone and near the goal line, which hopefully they will. So that's what I'm liking, guys, is our 2 props for this Monday Night Football doubleheader. We got 2 games on Monday night. I always love these Monday Night Football doubleheaders. They're so fun. These games start an hour apart, so they'll be going on at the same time, but they won't be overlapping too much, hopefully. So we'll get to kind of watch 2 games, at least for the first game, the Jets-Dolphins game. We'll get to watch the start of that game, and then we'll have the Bengals-Broncos game kicking off like an hour later or so. But yeah, doubleheader for Monday Night Football should be a lot of fun. Hopefully we can go 2-0 and we can hit both these plays. But as always, guys, I appreciate your support. Appreciate you guys watching these Prizepicks videos. Make sure to hit that like button down below. If you guys do enjoy these videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well. And if you guys are new to the channel, and if you are new to Prizepicks, if you don't have a Prizepicks account, make sure to go sign up. Use that code NOAH. Get those $50 in free lineups when you sign up for Prizepicks. But good luck, guys. Let's win some money tonight. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.